I never thought I'd be sitting here, typing this out. But here I am, putting into words the very thing that ripped my life apart, and maybe by doing this, I can finally begin to put it behind me. This story starts with what felt like a dream life, and ends with betrayal, heartbreak, and a lesson that has cost me everything, or maybe, in some ways, it gave me back something even more valuable. Sarah and I met in college. She was the girl everyone noticed, and I was just another guy in the crowd, totally invisible to her. At least, that's what I thought. But we somehow found ourselves sitting next to each other in a class we shared during our junior year. I don't know if it was fate or just dumb luck, but from that moment on, we were inseparable. It didn't take long for us to fall into that head over heels kind of love. The kind that makes your heart race when they walk into the room, that makes everything feel brighter and more alive. We moved in together after graduation, and a couple of years later, we were married. I felt like the luckiest guy in the world. Sarah was everything I wanted in a partner. Beautiful, smart, funny, caring. I had no doubt in my mind that I had found my person. We built a life together, brick by brick. I landed a decent job in finance, and she was working as a project manager for a tech company. It wasn't glamorous, but we were happy. We bought a house, settled into a comfortable routine, and even started talking about starting a family. Life felt secure. I was in love with her, and I believed she was in love with me. Everything seemed perfect. But looking back, I see now that the cracks had been forming for a long time. They were small at first, barely noticeable, but they were there. Maybe I was too blind to see them. Or maybe I just didn't want to. I wanted to believe that what we had was unbreakable. I was wrong. It started with little things. Sarah became distant, distracted. She was always on her phone, texting late at night, claiming it was work-related. At first, I didn't think much of it. We were both busy with our jobs, and I figured she had a lot going on. But the late-night texting became more frequent, and she started going out more, always with friends I'd never heard of or colleagues from work. I'll never forget the night everything started to unravel. It was a random Tuesday, like any other. Sarah had been out with friends, or so she said, and she came home late. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, and went straight to bed. But something felt off. I don't know what it was, but my gut was telling me that something wasn't right. So I did something I had never done before. I checked her phone while she was in the shower the next morning. It was unlocked, and I went straight to her messages, and there it was, a message thread with someone named Adam. My heart dropped. I scrolled through the messages, and my worst fears were confirmed. They weren't just friendly conversations, they were intimate. They talked about sneaking around, about meeting up when I wasn't home. They talked about their relationship. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking as I read through the messages, each one like a dagger to the heart. She had been seeing this guy for months. I felt sick to my stomach. How could she do this? How could she lie to me, betray me like this? I sat there in the living room, the light from her phone screen illuminating the dark corners of our life that I had been too blind to see. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront her right away? Should I call her out on her lies? I wanted answers, but more than that. I wanted the world to stop spinning. I needed to think. I needed time. That night, I didn't say anything. I acted like everything was normal, even though my heart was breaking inside. She smiled at me, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't been sneaking around behind my back for months. I couldn't believe it. How could she look me in the eyes and lie so easily? It made me wonder how long she had been pretending. For the next few days, I kept quiet, but I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen. The messages replayed in my head over and over again, torturing me. I felt like I was losing my mind. I had to know more, so I did something I never thought I would do. I started investigating my own wife. I went through her emails, checked her social media accounts, even went as far as checking her location history on Google, and what I found confirmed everything. She had been meeting up with Adam, not just once or twice, but regularly. They had gone on trips together, stayed at hotels, and spent weekends together while I thought she was away on business. She had built an entire second life behind my back. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just about the physical affair, it was the lies, the deceit, the way she had made me believe that we were still building a life together while she was tearing it down behind the scenes. I felt like a fool. I had trusted her with everything, and she had thrown it all away for some guy she met at work. I knew I couldn't keep quiet any longer. I had to confront her. So one night, After she came home from another one of her work dinners, I sat her down at the kitchen table. I didn't beat around the bush. I told her I knew about Adam, that I had seen the messages, that I had been watching her. For weeks, I expected her to deny it, to try and lie her way out of it. But she didn't. She just sat there, silent, her face pale. "I am sorry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She didn't mean for it to happen. She didn't mean to lie to me for months, to sneak around behind my back, to build a relationship with someone else while we were still married. The anger boiled up inside me, but I kept my cool. "I want a divorce," I said, my voice cold and emotionless. She didn't fight it. She didn't try to beg for forgiveness or ask for another chance. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face, and in that moment, I realized that our marriage had been over long before I had even known about the affair. She had already checked out, and I had been living in a fantasy. The weeks that followed were a blur. We filed for divorce, and the process was just as ugly as I had expected it to be. We fought over everything: the house, the cars, the savings. She tried to take as much as she could, but I wasn't about to let her walk away with everything. I had been faithful, I had been loyal, and she had betrayed me. I wasn't going to let her win. In the end, the divorce settlement heavily favored me. I kept the house, the car, and most of our savings. She walked away with very little, and it felt like justice. But even after the divorce was finalized, I couldn't shake the pain. The betrayal, the lies, they haunted me. I felt like I had lost a part of myself, like I would never be whole again. I spent months trying to put the pieces of my life back together. I threw myself into work, into hobbies, into anything that would distract me from the emptiness I felt inside. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the pain. It was always there, lurking in the background, waiting to remind me of what I had lost. Friends and family tried to support me, but their words felt hollow. They told me I was better off without her, that I deserved better. But it didn't make the hurt go away. I couldn't stop thinking about what I could have done differently. Was there something I had missed? Something I could have done to save our marriage? Those thoughts tortured me, keeping me up at night, making it impossible to move on. And then, one day, I got a call from a mutual friend. Adam had left her. Apparently, once the excitement of the affair were off, he realized he wasn't ready for a serious relationship. He had broken things off with her, leaving her alone, with nothing. I should have felt vindicated, but instead, I just felt empty. She had thrown away our life for him, and now she had nothing to show for it. I threw myself into my work, but this time, it wasn't to escape the pain. It was because I wanted to excel. I wanted to push myself to new heights, to prove to myself that I was more than just a man defined by a failed marriage. I started getting promotions, taking on new projects, and finally feeling a sense of purpose that had been missing for so long. I also reconnected with old friends, people I had drifted away from during the marriage. It felt good to surround myself with people who truly cared about me, who had been there all along. Even when I didn't realize I needed them, we'd go out for drinks, watch football games, and talk about life, love, and everything in between. It reminded me that I wasn't alone, that life had more to offer than the pain I had endured. But the biggest change came when I met Emily. I wasn't looking for anything serious at the time. I wasn't even sure I was ready to date again. But fate has a funny way of working things out. We met through a mutual friend at a dinner party, and from the moment we started talking, there was a connection. She wasn't like anyone I had ever met. She was kind, intelligent, and had a way of making me feel at ease, something I hadn't felt in a long time. We started of slow, just casual conversations, getting to know each other. I was hesitant, afraid of repeating the same mistakes, but Emily was patient. She understood my reservations, my fears, and she never pushed me to move faster than I was ready for. Over time, that casual connection turned into something deeper. We started spending more time together, going on dates, talking about our lives, our goals, our dreams, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt hopeful about the future. But even as I began to fall for Emily, there were moments of doubt, moments when the scars from my past would creep back in, reminding me of the pain I had gone through. There were times when I'd question if I was capable of trusting someone again, if I could truly open myself up without the fear of being hurt. One night, While we were sitting on her couch, Emily asked me about my marriage. I hadn't talked much about it before, not in detail, but I knew she deserved to know, so I told her everything about Sarah, about the affair, about how it had destroyed me. Emily listened, never interrupting, never judging. When I was done, she took my hand and said something I'll never forget. "You're not defined by what happened to you," she said softly. "You're defined by how you move forward." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. She was right. For so long, I had let my past define me, let the pain and betrayal shape how I saw myself and the world around me. But I didn't have to. I had the power to move forward, to build something new, something better. Healing isn't linear, and it's certainly not easy. There were still days when the memories would surface, when I'd catch myself thinking about Sarah, about what went wrong, about what could have been. But those days became fewer and farther between as time went on. Therapy played a huge role in my healing process. Dr. Morgan, my therapist, helped me untangle the mess of emotions I had been carrying for so long. We talked about my fears, my insecurities, and most importantly, we talked about forgiveness not just for Sarah, but for myself. I realized that I had been blaming myself for what happened, even though it wasn't my fault. I had been carrying around the weight of that guilt, thinking that if I had been a better husband, if I had done something differently, maybe Sarah wouldn't have cheated. But Dr. Morgan helped me see that I wasn't responsible for her actions. I had given my all to that marriage, and her betrayal was a reflection of her choices, not mine. Over time, I learned to let go of that guilt. I learned to forgive myself for the mistakes I had made, and to accept that not everything in life is within our control. People change, circumstances change, and sometimes relationships fall apart. But that doesn't mean we have to fall apart with them. One of the hardest things I had to learn was how to trust again after being betrayed by someone I loved. It was difficult to open myself up to the possibility of being hurt again. But Emily showed me that not everyone is out to break your heart. Some people genuinely want to build something meaningful, something lasting. And as my relationship with Emily grew, I found myself trusting her more and more. We had our ups and downs, like any relationship, but the difference was that we communicated. We talked through our problems, addressed our fears, and supported each other. It was something I had never really had with Sarah, and it made me realize just how important communication is in a relationship. About a year after Sarah and I finalized our divorce, I ran into her again. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't something I had expected, but there she was, sitting at her CAF downtown. I was with Emily at the time, and we were just grabbing coffee before heading to a friend's party. As we walked in, I saw Sarah sitting by the window, sipping her drink and staring off into the distance. She looked different, older, more indifferent. There was something in her face, in the way she held herself, that made her seem like a shadow of the person she used to be. The confident, vibrant woman who had once been my wife now looked tired, worn down, and sad. She noticed me too, and for a moment, our eyes met. I could see the recognition in her face, the guilt and regret flashing across her features as she looked at me, then at Emily, and then back down at her coffee. Emily hadn't noticed Sarah yet. She was busy ordering our drinks, laughing about something the barista had said. But I was frozen, locked in this strange moment where the past collided with the present. A part of me wanted to go over to Sarah, to say something. What? I didn't know, but then I stopped myself. What was there to say? What good would come from dredging up old wounds? We had both moved on, albeit in very different ways. When Emily came back to our table, she noticed my silence. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. I smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine," I said, and for the first time in a long time, I truly meant it. We sat there, enjoying our coffee, while Sarah remained at her table, lost in her thoughts. I don't know how long she stayed there, but at some point, she got up and left, quietly slipping out of the CAF without a word. And that was it. That was the last time I saw her. Moving forward, life after betrayal isn't easy, but it's possible. It took me a long time to rebuild myself after everything fell apart, but I did it. I learned that I am stronger than I ever realized, that I am capable of healing, and that I deserve to be loved and respected. Emily and I are still together, and while I don't know what the future holds, I am hopeful. I've learned that love is about more than just passion and excitement. It's about trust, communication, and commitment. It's about showing up for each other, even when things get tough. And most importantly, it's about being with someone who values you for who you are, not what you can give them. As for Sarah, I don't hold any ill will toward her. I don't hate her, and I don't spend my days wishing for her to suffer. She made her choices, and she has to live with the consequences of those choices. But I have to live my life too, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The pain of betrayal will always be a part of my story, but it's not the whole story. It's just one chapter in a much larger book, and I'm excited to see what the next chapter holds. If you're reading this and going through something similar, I want you to know that it gets better. It won't happen overnight, and there will be days when you feel like you'll never get past the pain, but you will. You'll find your way out of the darkness, and you'll come out stronger on the other side. Don't let someone else's betrayal define you. Don't let it take away your sense of self-worth. You are worth so much more than that. Thank you for reading my story. If you have questions, or if you're going through something similar and just need someone to talk to, feel free to reach out. We're all in this together. And if you take anything away from my experience, let it be this. You deserve to be loved by someone who will never make you question their loyalty or commitment. Don't settle for less. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more and see you soon.